Welcome back to my lure box. In today's video we're talking fishing sunnies, and I'm going to take you through all the details that can help you purchase your next set of sunnies, what to look for, the things to steer clear of, and how to get the most out of your sunnies so that you can spot more fish and not ruin them and get them to last a lot longer. And also, what are the differences in the shades of colours? I'm going to talk everything I can think of in this video. So let's get started. I've probably been wearing sunnies for about 20 years now, and that came on the back of seeing some surgeons, some eye surgeons, because as a young bloke out surfing, early morning, peering into the water with the sun rising over the top of it, and years peering into the shadows cast by mangrove systems with the sun coming up, fishing into the shadows, I spent years staring into the glare and never had sunnies, and actually did a lot of damage to my eyes as a young bloke, thinking I was invincible, didn't need to protect my sunnies, didn't need to protect my face and my lips. And so I got sunburn and copped mad eye damage from not wearing the proper protection. So straight off the bat, if you're a young bloke that's getting into your fishing or you love your outdoors, take it from me, I've paid the price over the years. And the skin damage, though I look after myself with pretty meticulously now, but the eye damage that you can get from not looking after your eyes is probably the big thing that pushed me in the right direction of getting good pairs of sunglasses and starting to learn about what the best ones are for fishing as well. Pterygiums are the things that started to develop in my eyes, which is a growth that comes across and really irritates your eyes. And that's the thing, probably one of the worst forms of damage are these pterygiums that you can get growing from either side of your eye, and that comes from a lot of the glare that comes from the side as you're driving up highways, for example, north and south, or copping mad sun and glare into your eyes over a prolonged period of time. That's one of the reasons, or some of the best reasons, to get yourself some good pairs of sunnies to look after yourself so you can fish forever. I'll talk you through what I think are my most important features of sunglasses, and then we can get into some nitty-gritty about the lenses and things like that. And if I miss anything, make sure you leave comments in the section below, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on your sunnies, or if you've got more questions, I'd like to help you. Just point you in the right direction if you're looking for some pairs of sunglasses to get you going. So the number one thing with sunglasses, and this basically goes for any sort of clothing, I suppose, is just how they fit and how they wear, and not what they look like necessarily, although my wife will tell me different. Fishing sunnies, you're wearing them for such a long time. I'll do sessions out on the water that might be, 14 hours long at times, and you're wearing them from sun up, right in that early light, peering into those shadows with the sun and then the reflection off the water. That's a long period of time to be out there with the sun in your eyes. So you want to be wearing something that fits really, really well. So the way that they sit and don't poke you in the temples, for example. So sunnies that sort of wrap around but come in, you want to check that they're not really awkward and pushing in on your temples along the frame. And then how they sit on the bridge of your nose is really important as well. So I've got pairs of sunnies here, and we can talk brands as we go through this, but pairs of sunnies that I've actually removed some of the nose points in there so that the sunnies will wrap around a little bit better. So some sunnies have these little nose bridge sort of cushions or little bits of rubber in there that you can screw in and out of your framing, and I've removed them on these Mauis, and that means that they just sit a lot more close to my face, almost to the point where my eyelashes are touching the lenses, but that means that they wrap around a lot better. I also run these cables or these little retainers that just hold your sunnies on for fishing as well. So there's some sort of features straight off the bat. The way that they fit and wrap around your head is really important. And just as a guide for you, if you're looking to purchase a pair of sunnies, these are some Ray-Bans. Fishing sunnies are all about minimising the glare. You're trying to drop the glare down that you're copping off that sun so that you can get, if you've got polarised lenses, you can look into the water, and that polarisation allows you to penetrate into the water and see the fish or see the cover, the weed beds, see the fish swimming over some sandy patches with that contrast. But if you're getting glare, especially from the side, you can see with these sit right off the front of my face here, off the side. I can fit sort of 2 fingers in the side there. they're letting in a lot of glare, especially if the sun's high or behind me. I'm getting like relay and even a reflection back off that lens into my eye, and it's that reflected light, or the light shining through from the side, that really hurts my pterygiums and stirs them up, and that's the one that can do the damage too. Especially if you've got sunnies on and you're really dilated, you'll start to let a lot more light in. If it's getting in from the side, it can do some damage. So sunnies like that compared to, I'll show you like a wrapping around style sunny, there's a big difference there in how you're going to be able to let light in or not. And one of the examples I can give you though is if you're running a pair that sit off your face, you can run a face buff. So if I can do this real quick, you can run a face buff that you can almost pull down to reduce some of that glare on the side. So depending on how you run your buff, that's one little way that you can reduce that. If you've already got your favourite pair of sunnies and you're like, oh, Johnny's talking about this side glare doing damage to my eyes, you can run a buff that pulls that little bit of glare out and hides it with your face buff. All right. One of the other things that I didn't mention was these Costas. These are a favourite pair of mine. These Costas have got, see that little hinge joint there? So when you're looking for a pair of sunnies that sort of sit nice and snug to your face but don't give you mad headaches, which I've had pairs that have done that in the past, from either being too heavy or from just pinching me on the sides of my head there. Pairs that have got that little hinge joint there where they can open up, if it opens up nice and easy like these Costas do, then they just sit snug, they don't come off as easy, and they're not going to give you those headaches. All right, and when I go and fit sunnies, I use these retainers and I throw them on in the shop and get a feel for them. Here's some old retainers. I've gone through pairs and pairs of these things. These are the, what are they? I forget what they're called. I don't know. I got these from BCF. I got them because they were really soft, but to get these ones on, man, they're so difficult to push on. They stay on, but they're a bit thicker, and so they started to impinge on the side of my head. And you know, hours into a fishing session, you've got that little rubber in there. You can see that as all the cotton's got worn, but that little rubber pushing on your head for hours on end, it's enough to send you back crazy. Companies sell them now, so you can just get them with your sunnies. When you purchase your sunnies, they come with the retainers. So inside this packet, and by the way, these packets that you get, you want to hang on to those because they might save you standing on your sunnies and cracking them in the boat or in the car. Don't hang them from your rear view mirror, whatever you do, because that sun through the glass, the hot days, it can just delaminate. And I've had good pairs of sunnies over the years that have become, not just the frames start to delaminate, but the actual lens starts to fall apart itself too. I'll give you a look through the lenses as well, because it's pretty glary this afternoon. But yeah, you don't want to hang your sunnies in the sun. These little cables or these retainers cost to have them. They just poke on and they're nice and thin and they push on pretty easy, and then that holds them on so that when you're out, I'm out on my jet ski all the time fishing, I'm not losing pairs of sunnies. My wife's going to hate me saying that because she lost her Maui's off the back of my jet ski on the first trip that I took her out to try and convince her of how good the jet skis are going to be for fishing offshore. You can see already my eyes, just with that side glare, I'm starting to glass up already looking into this heavy glare this afternoon without my sunnies on. Alright, so we've touched on a few things there. Fit being the most important thing. And the guys that I've spoken to in the industry around sunglasses, they all relate it to, you know, fitting a pair of shoes. And sunglasses are a lot similar to that. That you might have your favourites that feel great for you, but they might not be awesome for someone else. And you might hear someone rave about their pair of sunnies and how fantastic they are, how well they fit, and then you put them on and you're like, no, I don't really like them. I like these. So that's really the number one most important thing when you're fitting yourself a pair of sunnies, is that the nose bridge, for starters, isn't impinging and they sit nice and close to your face, and really you want something that kind of wraps around. Unless you're just going for like a super stylish style of sunny and then you're going to wear a face buff, something that wraps around is really, really good. The other thing is, and we'll get into these different lenses, a lens that throws the light off and allows you to get the most out of your fishing conditions. So we might talk on that, and if there's anything that I miss at the end of this, you can just comment in it as well. So let me show you what I've got here so you can see. Now, I've fished with, over the years, I've fished with spotters. I had a great pair of spotters years ago. I've still got them as a spare pair. And when I fish with people on the boat, I usually try to make sure they've got a pair of sunnies, because seeing fish with polarized lenses just changes the game. And if you haven't fished with polarized lenses, or you don't know how to check the polarization in the lens, usually they've all got it marketed on front of the packet of the sunnies or whatever anyway. What you're looking for with the polarized sunnies, if you've got a pair of polarized sunnies and you want to check, so if it's marketed on one and not the other when you're looking for them in the shops, you have a look through the lens and you should be able to see through there. Hopefully you can see through that on the video. If you turn the other pair sideways, it should completely black it out. And there are different levels of polarization, like some of the horizontal slits can be closer together or block out a little bit more light than others, but hopefully a really good pair should fully be blocked out there, and that's really protecting your eyes well and allowing to get rid of a lot of that glare. So there's other pairs you might see here, like this brand of Ray-Bans. If you have a look at that, and then I put them like that, you probably can see a little bit through there. And these are polarized, but they're just not as heavily polarized as some of these other pairs that you can get. And the layering, depending on, some of these glasses have got like up to like 11 or 12 layers of protection, different types of protection that will remove some of those frequencies of light. But that's a good way to check with your polarization. And there's a whole range. Like, price point is probably the second factor if that's what you're after, and price points makes a difference. You can get very cheap sunnies that are polarized, but some of them are worse for your eyes than not. So some of the sets that you'll get from the servos, for example, are just horrendous, and they can actually do more damage because the dark lenses can dilate your pupil, but let in some of those different rays and the different frequencies of light that can do some harm. So you want to make sure that you're at least getting a decent sort of layering of lens and sun protection through your sunnies, so that you're not just leaving your eyes open with that pupil dilated to bring in all of those harmful light. If we talk really quickly through the colours of lenses, so there's all these different colours of lenses, like these Costas that I've been wearing for months now. These are really, really blue, and then these that I've picked up just recently have like a greener tinge to them. These blue ones come on like on a grey backing. These ones have got like a copper base to them. And what else have I got here? I've got some HT. These are like almost like a yellow lens, and they've got like this gradient through them where it sort of blocks out shadow lines from below and above with the way that the lens is printed. So they're HTs by Maui. And then my spotters that I wore for years were like a copper lens, which were just fantastic, especially in the estuaries. So that copper coloured lens is really good, and these Ray-Bans are like a copper lens as well. The mirror finish on them just reflects a lot of that light, and so I like to use these if I'm fishing in really high glare stuff, especially these blue ones. I use them for out offshore. On my ski, I'm kind of standing a lot and up above looking down, and these blue lenses are really for those high glare situations. If you're on sand flats chasing flatties as well, where the sun's out, you've got that really light sand, and it's real glary, and you're trying to peer in to spot those flathead or see the lies, then these blue lenses have been pretty good for me, like really good. The last couple of years I've basically gone to these as I've been flathead fishing, and they've been fantastic. These are a Costa lens, so you might be able to see that there. And I just had that arm replaced because I snapped it, and that's maybe something to be aware of. These cables, the rubber that these are made with, they can actually get a bit sticky on your head as you're putting them on. So it caught on the hat as I'm jamming it on, and I ripped the arm off. and the guys at Costa were really good. They just did a straight replace for me, even though it was my fault. So yeah, I'm just really lucky that was, you know, the way I got looked after. But so that customer service was really good. I've had great customer service with these Mauis as well, because I did the same thing with my Mauis. So I'm reluctant with these retainers, but they're a lot lighter than, and they're a lot less intrusive than these big things. So, and I still have to wear a retainer so that I don't lose my sunnies, because I've lost pairs of sunnies before. Copping heavy wind now, we're getting blown around. I'll see if I can just sort of motor us back out of the wind. Hopefully you're not picking too much of that up. I've got my dead cat on my mic going. So hopefully it's not getting too windy in this video. And that customer service as well that's a consideration for me when I'm buying sunglasses. And generally the bigger companies, from what I've seen, really look after you. And that's what I've experienced with Costa, with my Mauis. Both times it's been dead easy. And my brother's had Oakleys over the years. That's what he runs. Both of my brothers runs Oakleys or Ray-Bans. They've had good experiences with theirs as well. So that's not to say that the smaller ones don't. A couple of the smaller brands that you might hear about in the fishing industry in Australia, Spotters isn't a small brand, but compared to the global brands like Oakleys and Costas and Ray-Bans, Spotters in Australia and Tonic Eyewear, both of those heavily involved in the fishing industry in our country. And Costas, over the last, I'd probably say 4 or 5 years, I've noticed them becoming more involved in the fishing industry in Australia, which means they're sponsoring fishing events. And I know these Costas, the story behind these Costas is that they were made by a couple of fishermen back in the 80s, I'm pretty sure. I think I've got the box here too. Yeah, made by 1983, a few die-hard fishermen set out to design sunglasses that were hardcore as their adventures. So they're made by fishermen, and when they're invested in the fishing industry, that means something to me, because it means that they're helping out competitions keeping going. They're supporting fishermen that are out on the water, getting them set up to catch more fish, basically. So those three brands, and especially in recent years, I'd say Costa's been involved with the brim tournaments, heavily involved with the brim tournaments that I'm aware of. So that's part of the reason why I even get into wearing a certain brand of sunnies. You know, definitely the quality of them first, but that plays a role in it, I think, as well. And if there's companies that are supporting fishermen, then it's nice to be able to support them. A couple of things to consider as well when you're cleaning your sunnies. They come with these little cloths, like little cleaning cloths. I've also found that a little microfiber pad, or these things that you can pick up basically anywhere, as long as you keep it super clean, they do an amazing job of even getting like the grease, the tiny amounts of grease off your hands. They get that off the lens. And if you're fishing and just bashing about, or using, you know, like using your scents and stuff, so fishing and you're touching scent and then readjusting your sunnies, you can smear, or it can just get this coating over your lens, which I know a lot about with the lenses that I use for filming as well. If you want a clear lens so you can see everything after you've paid, you know, it could be a couple of $100, $200-300 for a really good pair of sunnies, you don't want to have dirt or smeared lenses. Definitely don't want cracks. So some of these pairs of sunnies that I've got, they have glass lenses. But I've actually gone away from those glass lenses over the years for comfort. And that's because the glass, even though it's a lot more scratch resistant, well, they say they market it as scratch proof, the glass lenses are a lot heavier. And when I'm doing long sessions on the water, I want comfort, and I'll just make sure that they're super clear. So I wear like the poly or the plastic lenses with the polarization, and they do a fantastic job for me. All that sweat, and especially early morning when you're breathing out, and it can start to fog the lenses up. So I've found that my plastic lenses, I'm just much more happy with those, and I get more out of them. They're a lot lighter on my face, and I just don't notice that they're there. So that's something to consider. Like I said, it's horses for courses. You've got to find what you like. And one of the best tips I've got for you is If you fish with mates all the time, just ask for a swap. Do a swap with them while you're out on the water and start to give yourself half an hour to get used to the lens and just see what you like. All right, what else have we got to talk about? Talked about protecting them, how to look after them, using those little cloths. Don't rub it on your shirt, especially if you're out fishing sand flats. You've got like the sand spray and you end up just doing a little clean on your shirt. If you can handle it. You know, sometimes that's all you've got, but I tend to try and use like the underside of my shirt, but that's still got like a smear of like an oil layer from your skin or your sweat, but it's better than the outside, because if you've got a grain of sand and you rub it straight over these lenses as you're cleaning them, you're going to scratch them up. Definitely, you know, I used to wear a lanyard at school with my whistle on it and things like that, and keys, and I've scratched so many pairs of sunnies doing that. So you really want to look after your sunnies. I'll just see if I can bring you around, give you a look through them. So these ones here, these are a Maui high transition lens, which it's kind of yellow. That's really dirty because I've been fumbling around with them while we've been playing, but hopefully you can see through that. I might clean them up a little bit just with these cloths so you can see properly. I'll just steer you back in the direction of the sun, so hopefully you can get a red hot look through these as the sun shines right into them. Okay. Give that a good clean. Alright, so these are these HT lenses on my Mauis. See if I can kill the motor there. So that's a HT lens, and it's kind of like a yellow at the top and bottom, but hopefully you can see through that. They're better for really low light and looking into the shadows. So I use them early morning when I'm out in low light conditions. And then here's these blue lenses from my Costas. This is these blue lenses that I use offshore, fishing the sand flats for flathead, really high glare stuff. So hopefully you can see a bit of that. Hopefully that picks it up. Just bring the motor around a bit more. Make sure you're just copping high glare. Should be pretty good. So there they are. That's the blue lens. And then what else have we got here? These are these Ray-Bans that sort of sit off your face a little bit more. So the style is just as important in my mind as the actual lens, because if your sunnies are sitting off your face, they just let in way too much glare and sunshine down through the side. So there's some Ray-Bans. I've got a couple of scratches on those lenses now. They're a bit worn. But they're pretty soft. You can see how soft they are. If you're in the estuaries, those brown lenses or the green lenses are the way to go. It also depends on how high up you are in the water. So if you're standing in a boat and you're right up on a deck or something like that, peering down into it, you're probably going to get a better look at it compared to if you're in a kayak. So my brown lenses that I've got, I tend to use them if I'm kayak fishing, so I can just sort of see in right beside me, and that's as best as I'm going to get it. Whereas as high up as you are, if you can penetrate and look right down into it, it might change the lenses that you're using. So you might go for like a bluer lens or something if you're higher up. You can see right through it. All right, hopefully that sort of rounds it out for you. I don't want to, you know, a lot of my sunnies that I'm wearing are those higher end sunnies, and that's, I don't want to turn you off and make you think like if you want to get a pair of sunnies, you have to go high end. You've got to get something that's comfortable for you, and just try a few different styles. Go and check them out, and yeah, just wear your mate sunnies for a little while and get an idea. But you want polarized lenses, and generally a company that's going to look after you if you have an accident with them or they break or something. That for me is a big part of it as well. And companies that look after the fishing industry in Australia, I think, is a great way to go too. So hopefully that gives you some ideas on what to look for in the shops and how to protect your sunnies, and also so you can see a few more fish depending on the conditions when you're out there. Alright, if you've got any comments, I'd love to hear your comments at the end of this video. I've got a heap of videos coming over the next couple of weeks, and if you want to check out some of the flathead stuff on the flats, you'll probably see me wearing these blue ones. They've been fantastic for me over the last few months chasing big flathead in the shallows. There's more of that stuff coming. More stuff chasing fish up in the estuaries as well. There's a lot coming this year too in the new year. We're travelling. my family and I are travelling, so that's going to be exciting. That's all coming soon. All right, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.